So here we are.
Yeah.
We're here to talk about, I guess, the next chapter. Might be a new season. Ready?
Yeah.
The joys and pains of menopause.
We're digging deep in the trenches of menopause. We're quite blessed to be in this time because there's a renaissance going on around menopause and perimenopause. There's more research, there's more eyes being turned towards this stage of life for women.
You know, you hear about the hot flashes and the night sweats and the sleep disruption and the belly and the lower sex drive and all the things.
Your joints, rheumatoid arthritis,
inflammation, like eczema or thinning of your hair.
Did you know I only learned like literally 3 weeks ago that cold flashes was a thing?
I don't even think I've heard about cold flashes. Like, I want cold flashes.
Right?
I think I've been pretty lucky so far. Sometimes I might show at the gym and I'm like beating in sweat. Like, I just need a minute over here. They're just kind of my heat beats. I get uncomfortable for a moment or two, and then I kind of come back down. So those have been probably the most significant for me. I did have some body changes, and I think someone who's been very in touch with my body for a long time. Those were just another level of me learning to accept my changing body. And I will offer maybe a little ray of hope to all the women out there is I found having some extra tummy and the belly fat that we do store is actually a really important part of when our body is trying to clear estrogens. And so instead of actively trying to control and do everything I could to get rid of the extra abdominal fat, I decided I was going to embrace it as this changing body, and that when I was through, some of these fluctuations, that I would hopefully, return to my other body, or either way, I just accept that I've got a little more of a belly than I'm used to having.
So, Dee, I'm just curious about if you are seeing a hormonal specialist, a naturopath, in addition to your doctor that you're working with.
So I see my GP, and then I do have a naturopath that I see. I also do acupuncture, but I've done that for years. They're just kind of maintenance, and chiropractor. Those are kind of how I round out. I've got a good background in some herbology and different lifestyle things, as you guys know. So I actually find that I'm able, in the best ways now, to be really contributory in my care. So these are conversations with the practitioners, and using my own agency of what calls me.
I think we're having some of those practitioners on the pod.
You betcha.
I think you're going to talk about strength training in one of our pods, which is, really helpful for women in our age and men. But also practitioners that will be talking about naturopaths and herbs and different things that can be helpful.
I love shatavari is an Indian herb, and it has been amazing for the hot flashes.
I'm listening to you, Dee, and I'm like, God, you're on a different path than I am.
Oh, yeah. Well, tell us about your path, Meg.
My main symptom has been an increase in anxiety. So I did the Dutch test.
It's a whole panel, right?
Of your estrogen, your progesterone, your testosterone, your cortisol, your vitamin Bs, your Ds, and all the things. And it just is it was like a baseline. But I will say, I'm just considering a progesterone cream. That's on my radar right now. And I'm just doing the research on it now, because that's the one area that I'm most affected and depleted in. There's a link to mood and anxiety and sleep. So progesterone can be a big factor. If we don't know our baseline and we don't know where we're at, then we don't really know how to help ourselves.
We're grasping in the dark.
We're grasping in the dark, which is what my mom did and what my grandmother was doing, I'm sure.
And then they were just given one size fits all, base stuff that just didn't address their unique condition. Because had you not taken the Dutch test, you would have taken maybe estrogen cream, which would have thrown your system off even more.
Because my estrogen, even though you thought that my estrogen was down and potentially, I haven't had a cycle for a long, long time. I am still in perimenopause. And I was like, what? But I think not knowing.
Yeah, exactly.
What is actually going on is more stressful. So now I feel like I can help myself better. And that agency is everything.
I feel like if menopause and perimenopause was a school or a university, I've kind of flunked it.
So you're saying you've had every single symptom you could possibly have?
Feels like it. And I have heard that for some women, when we enter into that transition stage from perimenopause into menopause, it can be like falling off a cliff. And that's what it's felt like for my system.
And you don't sleep, right? Like yours is like kind of laying wide awake?
I fall asleep okay, but it's a sleep interruption. So I wake up and then I can't go back to sleep, or I'll wake up multiple times throughout the night. So I actually will fall asleep okay, but then 2 o'clock I'm up, 3 o'clock I'm up, 4 o'clock, and then I'm like watching the clock, and it's like, okay, I got 4 hours, 40 minutes to try and get some sleep to function during the workday, and
Yeah. Well,
that's
then you get the anxiety
and
that
then the
goes with
anxiety. I
that,
have
right?
massive sleep anxiety. So
Yeah.
sleep was a big challenge. Also emotional intensity that I had not experienced
And
before.
regulation of
And
that.
regulation, yeah. And this feeling of like, wow, I really can't handle my emotions. Like they're just so
Yeah.
intense. And I at first thought it was all related to past trauma that was being brought up. Part of it is because I've been doing some pretty deep trauma excavating work. Um, but then I realized, no, it's actually neuroendocrine changes in my body. It is completely that. Part of the reason why I feel like I've flunked out in menopause university is that I haven't done my Dutch test yet, and haven't had haven't advocated for myself in the way that I could yet, because it's hit me so fast. And so I'm literally catching my breath. I have been in the last 3 months taking conventional, traditional HRT. The progesterone, which I take as a pill form right before I go to sleep, actually has helped my sleep tremendously.
All three of us have very different journeys.
Mm-hmm.
So it's such a great example of our unique bodies.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Every single person will have their own unique story.
And there are common threads of things that can work for everybody.
Mm-hmm,
Right? There's the symptoms might be different, the timeline might be different on those things, but we know certain things that are really, really important that can help us out. Like we talked about the strength training piece, nutrition, anti-inflammatory diet protocol.
Anti-inflammatory,
Like,
yeah.
That's almost the gift of menopause. It's
an
one
opportunity we can
it's an opportunity to get to know our bodies on a different, deeper level, and
on a more sensitive level.
on a more sensitive level, and to make changes for our health.
Yeah.
And to learn all this stuff about, and I think it kind of prepares us for this next chapter.
Well, as we enter this menopause university, literally learning new chapters of life, we are entering this new beginning together. We're not alone anymore.
We're not alone.
No.
And guess what? Nobody flunks menopause university.
We're all going to make it through.
Because we all make it through together.
So thanks, listeners, for being with us as we start this next chapter with our own journeys and the guests that will come along with us. And hopefully you guys learn things about yourself and, how you can move through this transitional time with grace and,
Humor.
Exactly.
And a whole lot of compassion.
Yes, a whole lot of kindness and compassion.
Whole lot of it.
Love you guys.
Love you guys.